those Asians end up in prison. Now, let me tell you something right now. They are one of the worst races that you would want to fall out with, because they are going to guarantee that they get their get back, and they 100% did on this day. And so this guy was knocked out. And so every single time this guy was knocked out, they were pouring water over this guy to wake him back up, boiling hot water from the kettle, should I say, to wake him back
All
up.
I have in this world is my morals, my word, and I don't break them for other people to exploit.
Rightio, legends, Chaos Chronicles, and we're back again with another banger. And so I've been getting asked a lot lately on lives and in questions, what is the most dangerous prison unit that I've ever been in? Now, I've done videos on stuff like this before, but not to this degree. So before I get into it, if you guys haven't already subscribed, if you could please jump down there, shoot me a subscription, that'd be absolutely appreciated. And if you smash that bell icon, you will never miss any of our clips again. And the Discord is up and running again, guys. So the link is in my bio. And it's just where we hang out and chat. And it's just a cool place. You can share videos, you can share photos, stuff like that. So Discord is cool. But yeah, we also have members only videos, guys, where I drop members only content. It's not for everyone. It is a paid membership. It's a really awesome way to show your support. And so I drop members only content. So the members are the only people that generally get to see those videos. Well, all right, let's get into it. So the worst unit in the Victorian prison system is 100% Scarborough South, aka Scarb South. So this is my own personal opinion. So a lot of people are probably going to chime in and say that Scarb North is worse than Scarb South and whatnot. And that's probably true at times. But in my time, that unit has been the most deadliest violent unit that I have ever been in. And like I say this and mention this all the time, because it's very important to mention this when I speak about how dangerous and violent these places were. So there was no cameras in Port Phillip prison units until the end of 2017, start of 2018. And so the newer units that were there, like Salamander, Fishburne, and Matildas and stuff, they had cameras. They were brand new. But the older units that were built in 1996, no cameras, not one camera in the unit. As a matter of fact, there was only one camera in the yard, in every single yard. So this is the unit where people have lost their life, and a number of times. And yes, people have lost their lives in Scarb North as well. But this is a place where it is generally where the prison population, like the prison, send the worst of the worst. So it's kind of like a naughty boys unit. It is the end of the line, other than going to a management unit or the slot. And a management unit is just the slot, except in a management unit, you're allowed out for 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, depends which unit you're in. And but yeah, absolutely brutal. And the corruption that I've seen in this place, this is the place where I talk of hearing doors getting cracked in the middle of the night, and having not only screws running in numbers, and absolutely punching the living suitcase out of people, but also getting their doors cracked in the middle of the night, and the crooks running in on the crooks that are sleeping by letting other screws letting them in there. And so, keep in mind, no cameras, so virtually anything was able to go on in this place, and it absolutely did. So, people did lose their lives. A number of people lost their lives in there, as a matter of fact. Very famously, someone lost their life, got stabbed a number of times, and literally dropped dead, never to breathe another breath again, and died on the top tier. I have seen some of the most brutal attackings that I've ever seen go on in that place, and they all basically happen in the same one of two places. So there's three out cells, which are cells that sleep three people. So they have a bunk in there and then another bed on the ground as well. And so they are rather big cells, and so people call them boxing rings or whatnot. But I remember one day I heard this guy getting his absolute, like, his life was nearly taken. And so I'll go into detail of what happened. And keep in mind, the whole time this was happening, the screws knew it was happening. They were looking up. It happened in the top tier one. They were looking up there the whole time and just pretending like it wasn't happening. And so scurrying off into the supervisor's office and just pretending like nothing is going on. And so on this particular day, this person had owed money to the Asians. As a matter of fact, he robbed them, and this is why he owed them money. And so he robbed them on the outside. And this is something that happens so much. People think that because Asians are small on the outside and there might only be one of them, that, they're an easy target to rob. But, usually people that rob people end up in prison, and those Asians end up in prison. Now, let me tell you something right now. They are one of the worst races that you would want to fall out with, because they are going to guarantee that they get their get back, and they 100% did on this day. And so this guy was knocked out. And so every single time this guy was knocked out, they were pouring water over this guy to wake him back up, boiling hot water from the kettle, should I say, to wake him back up. And also, this was like forms of torture. Like, this person got stabbed a number of times, had one of his arms broken. As a matter of fact, his neck was broken in a number of places. And so this person was never seen again in prison, and the damages that were done to this person were horrendous. Like, the burns on this person's body were just absolutely brutal. And even the screws that were in the unit at that time said it was one of the worst bashings that they had ever seen. And so obviously the two that were in the unit at the time knew it was going on. But it was absolutely brutal. Another time, I heard a guy screaming for his life, screaming, "Help, someone help me." And by another race, it was by the Asians again, actually. And so, this was from just owing them money for Bupe in prison. And yeah, he got ran in on by three different Asians and stabbed a multitude of times. And also, once again, Nelly lost his life. And this was just over one or two deals of Suboxone, which is like, $25 to $50, two pouches at the time. And so, and then, it's just brutal. And because it was so corrupt, like, I've seen so much drugs on a level in this place that is like, yeah, it's just so hard to understand that drugs on this level go on in prison. And I'm talking ounces of hard drugs. And so I seen massive amounts of drugs. And because of the corruption, like I've said, at Port Phillip just allows so much stuff to go on. But these units is where it's very, very rife. And all those corrupt screws are actually like fighting over each other to get in there at that unit to be a part of the corruption. And I've seen times in there where strips, just one strip of bupe, so a strip of Suboxone, someone gets 25, 30 strips of Suboxone every single week for like $7. And then I've seen these strips selling there for $500 per strip, and I've seen people have thousands of them. Like, I'm talking never-ending supplies. And yeah, this is why it is 100% the most craziest unit. I seen the Lebos, when the Lebos were at war with the POWs. They actually took this guy out that was a wrong guy, and they took him out because he had the same name, the same first name as one of the POWs, and he was stabbed like, I can't remember if it was 37 or 47 times, like everywhere, in the neck, in the head, in the back, like full, absolutely 100% filleted. And yeah, that guy nearly lost his life as well. And then there's, I talk about the time where, I was jumped by a number of people over, once again, a deal of bupe. And I ended up getting stabbed. And although I was attacked by, there was 10 to 12 people in that same 3 out cell. And even though I did my absolute best and got one of them, and tried my best to get at the second one, but yeah, it was absolutely, I could not. There was no way. I'm not Superman, but yeah, I was stabbed 4 times, so 3 of them were superficial, but the last one was right here, right above my heart. And it did go in a fair way, and so it did hurt, but I didn't think it went through my chest cavity, which was crazy. And so I had my cellmate that night. I had to tell him that if he kept telling me to tell the screws, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. And then he's like, you've been stabbed in the heart. What if you die? And I'm like, listen, if you buzz up, because he said, I'm going to buzz up while you're asleep. And I said, if you do that, I promise you, by the time the screws get here, they will be tending to you, not me. I promise you. So don't buzz up. And yeah, absolute just brutal craziness. So like, I've seen, just gang bashing. So people just absolute not having a chance in falling out with the wrong race and getting stomped by 5 or 6, 7 people, kind of like what happened to me. And this is something that went on in that place so often. Um, and then I talk about the times where one person in particular, where everyone knows that this person did not take his own life, that the screws have 100% did that. And so this person had done like an 8-year sentence and only had days to go, and was found hanging there in his cell from underneath his sink. And it's a common knowledge fact that this is exactly what the screws do. The screws at Port Phillip have been at trial for murder before, and bet it every single time, mind you. It's like, the cops and the screws are the ones in blue, and they're all one team. But that is the answer to that question. And let me tell you about some of the weapons that I've seen in there. So I've seen what was, you could call it a crossbow, but it wasn't a crossbow. It was just a bit of really flexible plastic that was used as the trigger mechanism on this thing, that shot out whatever you put in there, wooden darts, metal darts, whatever. But this thing done mad damage and was a stabbing implement. If you shot this at someone, it was stabbing them. I seen size, so a metal rod with 3 big, like, I don't know what the one above 9-inch nails are, but like those type of nails, welded to them. I have seen like shanks that are swords. Do you know what I mean? And every single person, or well, at least I'm going to say that 90% of the people in Port Phillip prison carry like some kind of a weapon of some description. From the moment they walk out of that cell to the moment they get locked back in it, they all carry weapons. And, I've spoken about playing cards, and people have their shanks sticky taped underneath the card table. The screws can't see them. They're metal tables that have a lip on them, and the screws can't see them. So, it is a wild, wild place. And there's been times where they've had bike clubs in there and um, two different ethnicities. So, the Islanders were in there at the same time as the bikies were in there, and the Lebos were in there. The Muslims were in there at the same time as the bikies were in there. And people were getting taken out and carried out, not just taken out like walking out. People were getting absolutely airlifted. Like, I'm talking, people get attacked with Breville's, everything. And it blows my mind how units like that were still allowed to operate when they didn't have cameras in it. And that is why people lost their lives on the regular. And there was a time when it was so easy to get on any type of drug you wanted in prison. You could get on benzos, you could get on the bupe at one time, you can get on the methadone. So everyone in there was always off their heads. There's always massive amounts of like heavy drugs in there because the screws kick in there, and generally, someone's in the know with someone that's kicking. And yeah, and that's why it is always hectic too, because everyone is always off their heads. If you can imagine, so a unit that's got 70 of the craziest people in the prison system in it, and they all haven't slept for 4 or 5 days, it's a fucking dangerous environment. And when you even get to day two of that bender, like, people are getting taken out just over paranoia. I've seen people getting taken out over someone being on the phone. Someone's walked past, looked at someone while they're on their phone. They've hung their phone up, gone and got their shank sandwich, came straight back and got that guy just for looking at him because he was paranoid about who knows, but because there's so much ice in there. And yeah, everyone is just off their heads. And that is why, and that is absolutely why Scarborough South is the most dangerous unit, in my opinion, in the Victorian prison system. So obviously, Scarborough North is very close behind it. And I'd say that Scarborough North and Diosma at Barwon are equally as bad. And at times, Diosma is probably worse than both of them units. They have a lot of active gang members in there, and shit is always popping off in there. And screws are getting attacked in that unit as well. And Diosma is very much the same. That is where everyone wants to go. It's like the bad boys unit. But yeah, in my opinion, Scarborough South, 100% the most dangerous, worst, scariest, whatever you want to call it, unit in the Victorian prison system. Well, there you go, guys. Another banging video there for you. And if you haven't already subscribed, trust me, this is the time when you want to subscribe. I've been saying watch this space, and yeah, the content that's going to be getting put out over the next couple of weeks is going to be absolutely bonkers. So I've got my mum here at the moment. She's visiting from Queensland. And then as soon as my mum goes back, I'm going to start getting out there in Melbourne. We've got already places where I'm going to be going. So you definitely want to be subscribing right about now. And if you smash that bell icon, you'll never miss any of my videos again. I have been the Chaos Chronicles, and you have been absolutely awesome. And as always, don't do drugs and crime and you won't end up in prison. We